All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for Women Wednesdays. How's everyone doing today? Well, we're excited to have you all here with us here at Railroad Square Craft House. It's such a beautiful scenery, open breeze, beautiful day. So thank you so much for coming here today. I'm one of your hosts, Christy Souders. I'm the owner of Kitschy Wearable Art, located here in Tallahassee at Happy Motorin and Railroad Square Craft Art District. And then also I lead the retail division for Divvy Up Socks. And so we're super excited to have all of you here today and our speaker as well. So without further ado, I'll send everything over to Barbara Westcott, our founder for Women Wednesdays.
Yes, I created Women Wednesdays. It's a collaborative community for women to help each other succeed. And we're really having some incredible impact in the community. So we hope people will get involved with what we're doing. They can join at womenwednesdays.com. And think of Women Wednesdays. Don't just think about it like, what are we doing? Think about what you're doing and how you can do blow up what you're doing by utilizing our community. So never hesitate to get involved. If you have something, an event you want to do or a cause you want to work on, just let us know. We want to support whatever it is you're working on. But someone else that's really important to our community is Miss Kara here.
Hello.
So she's from Domi Station. She's gonna tell us a little bit about her position. But another thing that's part of Women Wednesdays is free co-working every Wednesday at Domi Station, our community business incubator and co-working space. And it's really an incredible opportunity. So Kara, tell everybody about Domi and about co-working.
Absolutely. So Domi Station is an incubator and co-working space here in Tallahassee, and we strive to help startups start and scale. So we are very excited to collaborate with Women Wednesdays and offer free co-working on Wednesdays at Domi Station. We're located at 914 Railroad Avenue, so right down the street from Craft House and the Art District. And we're very excited to be here and help support all of your initiatives as well.
Yeah, and I just want to add that I think sometimes people get a little confused, like, what is co-working? So understand that when you go to Domi, again, at 914 Railroad Square, you just go there, you walk in the door, and you'll find this beautiful room where you can have coffee and drinks and connect with other people. But then they also have a room full of open desks. And you just go there with your computer, with your laptop, and you work on your business, you work on your effort, whatever it is. But just think of it this way, if you're at home working by yourself, you're not connecting with other people. But if you're in a dynamic environment like Domi, you work on whatever it is you're working on, you're surrounded by others, you're sharing knowledge, you're meeting people. It truly is a place of opportunity. So understand, every single Wednesday, you're free co-working at Domi Station.
So we have coffee from Red Eye Coffee that is available for free to our guests who are there on Wednesday.
Necessity.
Absolutely. And like Barbara said, one of the greatest things about co-working in a space like Domi is the collaborative environment that is there and the support that's there. So a lot of collisions have been made and a lot of great businesses have been started from those collisions. So we invite you definitely to stop by anytime on Wednesday.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll add, like, just say you've never heard of Canva. How many people here have used Canva? So a lot of people, but if you haven't heard of it or if you don't know how to use it, if you're at Domi Station, the person next to you might know how to use it and can help you, or using Google Drive. So you never know what you're going to pick up. So Carrie, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. And so today's an extra special day with an extra special guest that's really doing something incredible for our community. So has everybody heard of the Children's Services Council? And of course, who is the very first leader of that council here in Leon County? Miss Cecka Rose Brown. That's right, Miss Cecka Rose Brown. And so she's here with us today, and we're going to ask her some questions. She's going to tell us about herself. She's going to tell us about the Children's Services Council. But I think you also really want to hear from other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because whether you're starting a business, a nonprofit, an effort, or anything that you're doing, it's so critical to have input from others.
Absolutely.
So that's a big deal.
That is what the CSC is about.
That's right.
For sure.
For sure. Okay, well, look, let's get to know you. Let's start off with that. We want to know about you. So tell us about you.
Cecka.
Cecka.
So I am actually, I say a native of Leon County.
Uh-huh.
We moved here when I was 4 going on 5. I am a product of FAMU, well, it's FAMU DRS now, but it used to be FAMU High,
Oh.
the High, and Florida A&M University.
Uh-huh.
I am married to Marvin, who's a native of Chicago and came down to FAMU and never left. We are parents to 2 adult children. I guess they're adult. 21, Mari's 21, Shayla is 18, and then we have our son Trey, Marvin Green III, who is 15 and is a student at DRS, and the girls are students at FAMU. I have had a career in public relations for the better part of 27 years, and about 3.5 years ago, I got into executive management, and it was sparked by earning my CPM, my Certified Public Manager's designation from Florida State University, and that was when I knew I wanted to one day lead an organization, executive director or deputy executive director, to help really foster transformational leadership, foster a positive work environment, a positive work culture, so that we are forging and building upcoming leaders in our community. So that is a little bit about me. I call myself a connoisseur of designer bags, to my husband's chagrin. And so I may not spend a lot of money on clothes and shoes, but those bags, yeah, it can be a little off. It can be a little obscene
That's your
sometimes.
thing, okay.
And I am very excited to be the first executive director of the Children's Services Council here.
And I mean,
it's
and
exciting.
That's, right, and that's no small thing. I mean,
Yeah.
let's talk about, this is something that was, by a public, vote, the voters
Yes.
of Leon County to bring this, other
Yes.
counties had this, but we didn't have a children's services.
That's right.
council.
That's right.
And
So just a little history, for probably about 25, 30 years, this community has worked on getting a Children's Services Council here. But timing is everything. And in November of 2020, the voters of Leon County, by an overwhelming majority, about 67%, voted to start a special taxing district. And that money would be used to fund programs to change the lives of children, youth, and families in this county. So in November, the vote was taken. The governor appointed the council members. We had 10. 5 of them are constitutional, so they are through the statute. The other 5 are community members. They started their work, got an interim administrator, and then started an executive search. So initially, I was with Children's Home Society of Florida, and I was interested in the CSC to look at how we could partner, and we could look at innovative programs to further help children and families. And after being contacted by a community member who said, I think you should apply for the position, I'm thinking, I don't know. Went home, talked to my husband. He said, I absolutely think you should. And so I did. Of course, there was a search, 166 applicants total. Got down to about 91, then to 72, then to 49, then to the top 8, then 6, then 3, then me.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so what is that like? Because I'm just thinking that is such a big deal to be, especially for this. What is that like to know you can do it? And of course you can, but just that journey of growing and becoming that person that is this first organization here in Leon County.
I think the journey was definitely an unexpected journey, but I would not change it for the world. I do believe in divine appointments. I believe that there is a divine appointment. I believe that God has a plan for us. If you believe in Allah, Buddha, Confucius, whatever it is, I do believe that a belief system is important, and I think that it was a divine appointment for me. The way that everything just kind of rolled out. It was definitely scary because embarking on a new position, being one of the stewards of taxpayer funds, representing this county, and knowing that people are looking to me and the council to look at how we make a difference and really become a catalyst for a different way of thinking about how services to children, youth, and families are funded, are provided, and what those outcomes are on the other side, so that it's not just moving widgets through the system, but rather changing the trajectory of the futures of our children and families. And so it does not fall faint on me, the responsibility, but I wake up every day, well, I've been in the position for about 6 weeks now, wake up every day with joy in my heart and knowing that we've got a big job to do and willing to do it.
It's interesting because your journey as a catalyst, you're shaping this agency. So give us an idea of what the need is in our community for these services and for the council.
So I will tell you, by Florida statute, when a Children's Services Council is formed, they have to do a needs assessment. And there are various ways that can be done. Some councils, and by the way, there are 13 in the state, so there are only 13. Some councils will compile information from different areas, so the United Way maybe some other entities down in their area that are doing some good collaborative work, maybe community foundations. And they bring all that information together, overlay it, and then determine what the needs and the gaps are. Our council decided they wanted to do it a little differently. So we contracted with a research firm out of Miami, QQ Research, to do a comprehensive needs assessment for this county. And that needs assessment will first look at the needs and the gaps in services for children, youth, and families. We held community and provider forums to get input from the providers in this area, as well as the families all over the county. And then lastly, a complete program inventory. And I say complete kind of in quotes, because I don't know that you'll ever gather everything, but as close as you can to what services are already being offered here. At the end of that, it will all overlay, and you can literally be able to see where we see pockets of no services, pockets of people who are in need, families that are in need across the county. And then what the council will do is take that information, look at how to do an expedited funding cycle this year, which would be for immediate needs that come up this summer. So it could be food stability, could be after summer programs, could be childcare, and it could even be public information campaigns, because when you think of things like safe sleep, when you think of pool safety out in community, when you think of those things, sometimes public service campaigns are ways to tackle that. And then once they do that, we'll look at a full funding cycle that happens so that that money gets out on the street in October to start trying to look at what our outcomes will be on the other side. So it is an arduous task,
Yeah.
without a doubt. That being said, we have some of the most talented council members, including our school board superintendent, our school board chair. We have our representative from DCF, our county commissioner, as well as community residents. And they are all wholly dedicated to ensuring that this council starts in a way that is deliberate so that it is sustainable. And my bigger goal is that in 10 years, when it comes back before the voters, it is a no-brainer. And they all click yes, and we're able to keep doing the good work that we do.
I just want to mention for everyone who's joining us, if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask, we'll go ahead and make sure that we get to those questions here in a couple of minutes. I see you, Mike Goldstein. And then also, I just want to let you know, everyone that's joining us online, we are taking your questions and comments too. Pamela Ridley, she says, congrats. Know you will do a super job for our kids. And then also, if you want to, you're asking for people's input and
Yes.
to join in on the assessment. So we have that right now on the screen, but tell us a little bit about that.
So there are 2 surveys that QQ developed for us in collaboration with us, because we know that very limited number of people can participate in forums and in focus groups, but everyone can participate in a survey. Irrespective of which part of the county you reside, it is important for us to get your input and your information. So if you go to the link that is up on the screen or go to our website, cscleon.org, you will see Take the Survey. And it is a community survey. Go through all of those questions. Be very candid. Be very open. Do not worry about what part of Leon County you live in. That's not an issue. It's going to ask you those questions, and then at the end, if you know of things that you believe we should address or are issues, you can put that in there as well. So we want to hear from as many people in our community as possible, because every one of you that own property, you are funding this council. You are an investor in the work that the council will do. And at the end of the day, when we see those positive results, every one of you can take credit for that. And that is what I love about the whole way this is set.
And I did the survey.
Yay.
I did it. And I hope all of you do the survey too. It really doesn't, it's an easy survey.
It's about
It's
10
not
to
too
15
long.
minutes. It's not too long. You know, we get in the middle of our day and we're like, oh, another question. But truly, it is the way that we will know how you feel, that we will know your input. And that is important. I will also encourage everyone to tune into the live streams. If you can't come to our meetings, tune into the live stream so that you can see the council as it does its work, all of our committee meetings, as long as we're not having technical difficulties, which we've been pretty blessed. You can tune in those on our YouTube channels as well as our council.
Well, and I like that Robert Blackledge is here. I see him looking at his phone. So he's the executive director of Domi Station. And we just talked about Domi, but a big part of any entrepreneur, just as an entrepreneur starting something, one of the biggest things you want to do is to get to know your customer
Absolutely.
and the needs. And I really applaud. I know for anybody starting a business, wouldn't you say the same thing? You really got to know your customer, know your community, and really know what problem you're solving.
Absolutely. And you have to start with the end in mind.
Right.
It is very easy to think we know. And so
Exactly.
history tells us that when we're talking about vulnerable populations, those who are not in the vulnerable population tend to think they know what would be best for that population, what would be best for those single mothers, for the single fathers. And in reality, you don't know because you're not in that population. So it's important, you're assuming what you think.
Yeah.
And so the beauty of this is that we're asking, what is it that will make you better, make your lives better? I always go back to this quote. I was on a workshop, virtual workshop during the pandemic, because that's the only way we could do it. And Cornel West was the speaker. And I literally felt like he was talking to me because he's in the screen and I'm sitting at my computer like, oh my gosh, he has captivated me. But he talks about not telling our youth and children, or anybody for that matter, we want you to be successful. We do them a disservice by doing that. It is because success is gauged by external factors. It is gauged by what you see on TV. It is gauged by the car you drive, where you live, in my case, what kind of handbag you carry, when I would act like I didn't say that. But that is how success is gauged. But rather, we need to tell our children and youth and our colleagues, we want you to be great. Because greatness is defined internally by that person. And so when we ask, what is it that you need to make you great? What is it that you need to achieve the greatness that you have? And for many people, I want to know that I can afford the roof over my children's head. I want to know when I get in the car, it starts up and I can get to work. I want to know that the early learning opportunities for my child are good and in place, so I don't have to worry when I go to work. I can focus on work. When I pick my child up, I can focus on home. I want to know that I can fill my refrigerator with healthy food. And it sounds like basic needs, and it is basic. But sometimes before you get to all the other stuff, the incubators, the STEM programs, the expanded learning programs, sometimes you have to look at the basic needs. So of course the council will look at that. And then we're also looking at what are those other innovative things that we can do to help families be great. And, which is the key to anything, the collaborations, the partnerships, understanding that in this community, sometimes we have several different groups that are all doing the same thing, all targeting the same group. Rather, let's look at what you do well, you do well, you do well, and you do well. Let's pull you together so you're addressing all of the needs of the population that you are serving versus everybody going after one thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of like also saying strategic partnerships too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it's hard to go it alone, but when you sort of harness, just like us building collaboration,
Yes.
harnessing the power of the many. But I think as organizations too, getting in that more of that collaborative spirit, it does make a difference, and you can move mountains. You can make things happen.
And I know you feel this, but I feel a lot of passion
Oh,
emulating from you right now. And I gotta know, where is that driving force? What is your driving force? Where's that passion coming from to lead this council?
so I'm a mother, and nobody gives you a manual with these kids. They just don't. And I'll go further and say that my husband and I are adoptive parents, and there's a class that you go through when you want to adopt, and it really is a great class. And I remember when we came out of the class, we told each other, every parent, you have to have a license to fish, a license to drive. Everybody who's thinking about parenting ought to go through this class, right?
It's true though.
Oh my gosh,
Especially
go through this
the
class.
would be helpful.
But then, even with that, you still don't know what you're going to get. You still are always trying to figure it out. And so the first kid you experiment, then the second kid, then by the third one, they're juggling knives, they're staying up till 10, you can't take the tablet, it's all of that. So, I think we did all right. But I know that it was hard. And I was raised by a single parent, a mom who is a retired educator. And so it is hard out there when you've got the best of resources. So imagine not having the best of resources. I started in communications and never dreamed that my journey would take me into child well-being. But I've seen it with my own children. I've seen it with my friends' children. I think about growing up and wondering how my mom even kept the lights on, even though she had a degree and 2 master's degrees. But she was an educator raising 2 daughters on the south side of town. And I often wonder, how did you not end up filing for bankruptcy? How did the house not get foreclosed on? And it's because she was strategic and had help. And not financial help necessarily, but programmatic help, the village, all of that. And because we are in a society where the village is not quite like how, it's not what it used to be. We have to figure out how to recreate that village in an innovative way, in a new way, and in a way that takes advantage of all of this innovation, technology, and everything that we have. We cannot raise our kids and have our families thrive in a vacuum. It can't happen. I tell my own kids, listen, of course I'd love for you to tell me everything. The reality is I don't want to know everything. Because some of the stuff they tell you, like, oh my gosh, I can't even. However, there should always be someone that you can tell, whether it's a godmother, an aunt, an uncle, someone that is more experienced than you. So if you're not comfortable telling me, you can definitely tell them. So think about kids who only have that one parent and are nowhere near any other family. How would mentoring help them? Evidence-based, trauma-informed mentoring that takes into consideration the things that are going on in that child's life and mentors them. And not just our traditional, you can do it. All you got to do is put your mind to it. Well, that's true. But if I am dealing with some deficits of some type, how do we address those deficits so that I can do it, right? So that is kind of where my passion comes from. And I believe that we can do it. I believe we have what we need. We just have to bring it all together, pull it all together. And my goal is that the CSC literally changes the way that we provide programming and investments into our children's education.
Yeah, and so like for here right now, all of us in the room or people watching online, what if, I want you to tell about what you most want everybody to know about the CSC. What do you most want them to know But then after that, I want to know, what do you most want to know from that?
So what I most want our audience to know is that the CSC cannot do this without. You are the investors. You are the people that provide the funding to allow the CSC to be able to work. So with that, you have to take a vested interest in what we do, and you have to provide us input, and you have to participate, whether it's watching the meetings, shooting us an email, watching the committee meetings, shooting us an email, keeping track of what we're doing, so that when things happen, you don't say, I didn't know they were doing that. I don't really like that. Well, you got to give us your input. So that's what I would like you all to know. I want to know, and we want to know, what is it that's important to you? What gaps do you see? Where do you think we can be better? What information would you like to provide us that we need to know? As a communications professional, that is what every relationship is based on. And listen, raise your hand, and sometimes you do it well, and sometimes you don't. I will raise my hand. Sometimes I do it really, really well, and sometimes I don't. But I encourage all of us to keep the communication and the information flowing back and forth, because this is a relationship. This is not a dictatorship. This is not the council works for you. It's not you telling us what to do, but rather you giving us that information and know that we're going to take it, keep it, and make the decisions that we know we work.
So do you have some examples of people giving you some information that's useful?
Oh my gosh.
Like, can you share a few examples so people see what they're
So one of the examples I would give, I was not present at the parent forums, and the reason I was not present is because we didn't want any of our parents to feel intimidated that council staff is there, and I can't be transparent. But we heard lots of stories from the parent forum. And in one particular area of the county, the facilitator kept talking about all these programs, or what programs would work for you? What gaps do you think your kids need? And the parents kept going back to, I need you to hear me. I want to make sure my kids are safe. So again, we're talking about programs and supports, and all they could think of is, I just want to make sure they're safe. I don't even know if I would feel safe having my child leave the house to go participate in anything because I don't feel safe. Youth groups. So we've also done youth forums. I want to go in my house and not have a hole in the ceiling. I want to walk up the steps and not feel like I'm going to fall through the steps. Mm-hmm. So what that says to me is the needs in this county go from basic housing, safety, all the way to mental health, mentoring, food stability.
Okay, Mike Goldstein, just make sure you project. He's got a question.
Can we hear okay?
Yeah.
I guess I have a lot of asked about, but let's do one for now. Every month the chamber puts out a scorecard that shows like the level of third grade reading is not getting any better. How do those chambers and the local government, I have resources around here somewhere, how they help CSC with the children get out of poverty and increase their reading levels to not become part of the situation that Sheriff's Office out of Panama the other day with Jack Porter, trying to dissuade that situation of the south side image of raising children to get out of that reading level of poverty to be the pattern of over the years. So how does that help?
So that is basically grade level reading and readiness at third grade. So first and foremost, we are collaborating with the chamber. We're looking at their scorecard. We're working with the county as well as the school board to look at how the programs that we will fund help to support efforts that are already happening. We don't want to be doing the same thing, but rather do funding and distribute funding that's going to support what is already evidence-based. It is, so one of our priorities, and there are lots of them, but one of the 3 priorities that we are going to focus on in this first iteration is success in school life. And with that, what you're talking about, third grade reading levels, readiness for kindergarten, that all falls in that priority. And so when we get that needs assessment, it's going to take into consideration what the chamber has found, what the Alice report says, what the county commission has, what the city has with their CHSP, so that we can see what that gap is and then determine how we shape the outcome and then fund a program to help us get to that outcome, which very simply would be increasing third grade reading scores, increasing readiness for kindergarten. I was just at a meeting yesterday where, and I can't remember which school it was, the kindergarten readiness for that school was 16%. So that means that not even 80% of kids knew what to expect when they got to kindergarten. And that is a problem. Because if we don't raise that number, then we're going to see it keep manifesting itself as the kids go on.
Yeah, and can I just throw in this, as I hear you saying, I mean, it is important to know what the chamber, state, or different organizations, but I really hear coming from you say, I want to hear from you and you and you, you know what I mean? Not to be pointy.
Absolutely.
But like, and I'm kind of curious with the people that are here, are people afraid to share their voice, or do you feel comfortable sharing your voice? Does anybody, by a raise of hands, how many people feel like they have something to add to this? That they have some insight and how many people are gonna do that? Are you gonna share your voice? Yeah, because that's what
Email's public.
Right.
You know.
No, but that's what you're saying is, the everyday person, everyday people of our community, all the taxpayers, but just the people that are part of making our community great.
Absolutely.
That's who you want to hear from.
Right.
And that you're a part of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know this gentleman back here had a comment.
I'm not sidetracked listening to you actually, but you were mentioning, I'm sorry, my name is Brian Fortman. I'm the creative director for Capital City Petty Cabs, but more importantly, I'd like to say I'm here representing my organization, which is Capital Babylon Incorporated. We're a mentoring organization. We reach out to youth and teach them drumming skills, but it's more so about using the drum as a vehicle to teach them life skills and development. And so Mike brought up the third grade reading test scores, and you brought up how to identify the best use of practice of getting those funding dollars to the evidence-based practices that are showing meaningful gains in our community. But I also represent the voice of our youth, the voice of our kids. They're not necessarily open to have that dialogue with adults because it's very intimidating. Like, I'm beat up every day by my teacher, so why would I want to speak to another adult? And so I speak to that youth that has an unfavorable experience in the education system where they feel like they're being oppressed. So how do we, how do those dollars encapsulate that kid and provide them with an educational experience that is engaging, not just more reading, but maybe a journaling process to talk about the sights and sounds and everything that you're experiencing.
So let me back up first. So if you remember, I said that we had youth focus groups. And I will tell you, I wasn't there. Holly McPhail, who works with us, and where's Jacinta? Jacinta Clay is our new administrative services manager. Holly was our interim operations manager and is now our project manager. She was in the outer rooms of those youth focus groups. They were not shy. They were very vocal about what they feel they need, how they feel they've been treated, what their goals are, all of that. They were very vocal about that. With the council funding, we cannot support educational programs that are funded by the school district. So by statute, we can't do that. But what we can do is look at evidence-based programs that support what the school district is trying to do. And that is why we have two representatives on the council by law. One is the superintendent of schools, Rocky Hanna, and the other one is appointed by the school board. And right now it is school board chair, Daryl Jones. And it just so happens that he is also, his district is, thank you. Feel free to bring your cards if you'd like to. His district happens to be, all the schools in his district happen to be Title I schools. So what I will say to you is, that sounds like the innovation that we would be looking to fund when we are issuing an RFP to talk about outcomes in that success in school life priority. So I love that idea. And I think that what you need to do, you need to get on our mailing list so that you see when those kind of opportunities are released, how you put together a program to speak to the outcome that we're looking to effectuate. Does that make sense? Yeah, because we can't go into the school and like put a program in the school. Can't necessarily do that because this funding should not support something that is already funded, but rather look at how we bring those together and provide those missing pieces. One thing I neglected to say that is vitally important. Capacity building is going to be big with this because we have lots of groups just like yours that are doing some marvelous work, but they don't know how to scale it. They don't have the capacity to deal with the reporting. They don't even know how to report. Many of the programs are born out of a passion. So of course you hear my passion, and I like to use the coats analogy. You see all these kids who don't have coats, so you say, oh, I'm gonna collect coats. Then somebody says, you should form a nonprofit. So now you got a nonprofit that collects coats, when in reality, what you maybe should have done was talk to the other nonprofits that are touching these kids and say, how do we A, provide the coats, and B, deal with the issue on the front end so that the kid doesn't have to keep asking for a coat. We got the issue on the front end so that the family can now provide that coat. So I did want to put that in there. So I think we're also, I know we are, looking at capacity building, technical assistance, working with some of our smaller groups. And then the last piece is partnering with the business community. Because the business community has a stake in this as well, as the chamber has indicated from their scorecard and their priorities that specifically deal with the human aspect of the work environment and making sure that you've got team members who can come to work and do their work because they're not worried about everything that's going on in the background.
Again, I'm thinking too, like you're an innovator. You're
Absolutely.
innovating a new way of approaching something. I really like that. And I know we have some more. Camille, I think Camille had her hand up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Camille. I am a social worker, so I share your passion for helping people and helping children. I'm currently working in higher education, and so my department, I'm an academic success coach, was created by through a new initiative that the former provost of Tallahassee Community College came up with. But as an academic success coach, the students always ask, well, what do you do? What can you help me do? And when you said the goal should be to help them be great, not necessarily succeed, that's one of the things that I tell them. I'm here to help them win, not necessarily succeed, but tell me what you need in order to win and achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So when I heard you say that, I was feeling really passionate about that. So I want to thank you for your service and for what you do. And, I share that passion as well. And so I hear it. And so when we're working with the students, another thing that we do is early alerts. This is a new system with the college students. When you see that they're failing in one class or that they miss an exam, we're calling them. Why didn't you make that exam? Because a lot of times we don't know what these students are dealing with. And so I called some of them and they told me I don't have a place to stay. So no, they can't show up for exam day and get those assignments in if they don't have a place to stay or they don't have transportation to get to school. So I feel really good about being there to fill the gap and help them. First, we need to get you somewhere to stay. And a computer, we have all kind of resources. So I'm sharing this with you all here at Tallahassee Community College. We have a lot of resources. We have computers for students that come and say, I don't have a laptop, that's why I'm not doing my assignments. Well, we're giving out computers. We have Talents Market. There are students who suffer from food insufficiency. We have a free food market on campus where they can come and fill up their bags of food so they can eat. And so So, I'm passionate on the next level, higher education, so.
Well,
really good to hear.
and to that point, one of the other things that we discovered when we did these focus groups, there are pockets of Leon County that don't even know that there are services available for what the issues they have. And so part of what the council also wants to do is ensure that those who need programs that are already existing, doing very good work, they know how to get to those programs. I think it's Lutheran Services that takes old computers. You can take your old computer to them. They use Department of Defense to completely wipe it, update it as much as they can, and sell them for little or nothing to people who need them. I mean, think about the pandemic and kids that were having to work virtually, and how businesses stepped up and provided internet to families that didn't have it. Those are the kind of collaborations we're talking about. So I commend you. I appreciate that, and I accept that for sure.
And I think really with the overwhelming response to actually put together this council, 2020 pandemic really highlighted a lot of the gaps, so to speak, and the needs. And do you think that energized people to participate in the process?
I think so. And I also think that our populations that would not consider themselves at need or at risk, I really think the pandemic even opened up their eyes into things that they may need to support their families. So whereas it might not be food security, it might not be housing issues, but that mental health and behavioral health, that is a big thing. And all of us, I mean, I wish all of us could get to the couch. I have a friend, my best friend, who's actually a licensed counselor, and she says, everybody ought to have a little couch time. And I have to tell you, I believe that. But geez, it's oversubscribed now. And there's a paradigm where we believe that going and talking to a counselor or a therapist makes us weak. And it doesn't make us weak. It helps us to get the tools we need to manage our life circumstances.
I agree with that. I've been to counseling.
I've been on the couch myself. Yes, I have.
I think that people don't want to be judged. They feel like they don't want to be judged if they give information.
And that's why we have to have communication. I tell most people, Jacinta will tell you, she's known me for a couple of years, I'm pretty much an open book. I have struggled with infertility. It was hard. 8 years to try to get over that. I have been in counseling. I come from a broken home. Been in car wrecks, gotten tickets, argued with my husband. All of these things. And so when we hold things so close to the vest in fear of judgment, what we're really doing is closing ourselves off from the world. And more importantly, we are not sharing our experiences so that it can help someone else. I mean, how many times do you hear people say, I was on my last leg, I turned on the TV, and so said, whoever it was, I was on my last leg, and then I decided I was gonna pick myself up, and that was the thing that kept that person from giving up. And so it doesn't have to be a celebrity. It can be us. It can be us stepping in when we see a gap. So the catalyst isn't just what the council is going to do, but what are we going to do as individuals?
Yeah, and I think, having the confidence to share, if you do have an issue or something that you need help, like having the confidence to share that. But then I think it's also like having the confidence, if you have a great idea or you have input, having the confidence and wherewithal to share that too, because it's important.
Yeah.
And I know this gentleman had something to say.
Yes, thank you. My name's Jeremy Block. I'm here as a private citizen, not an organization. And I'm going to be a little bit negative, if you'll bear with me. I was one of the first people in the first wave to speak at the county commission meetings when we were trying to get Children's Service Council off the ground. And I think it's extraordinary that here we are all these years later, and we're still talking about outcome surveys, and we're still talking about collaborative efforts, and we're still talking about a budget that I don't have with me. I wish I could refer to it line by line, but it just seems to be extraordinary. And I'm wondering what's going to be different about this bureaucracy than the 73 other ones we have in our community?
So number one, I'm different.
What?
I'm different.
True.
I'm different. And so I have heard everything you're saying. Absolutely. But when we don't memorialize, we can say all we want to say. So let me say this. This is why I'll never run for public office. For me, where's I love you, Commissioner Richardson, but you never have to worry about me running for public office. And the reason I say that is because I'm going to shoot from the hip. I'm going to tell it like it is. I hear what you said, and I've heard all of that. But at the end of the day, we have to memorialize, and like my husband says, we have to inspect what we expect. So if we expect that this is going to be different, we have to inspect it. And that's why it's a public process. Everything we do is in the sunshine, and that's why I encourage everyone to participate. But I will say to you, and this isn't being arrogant. I'm not being arrogant. What I'm saying is, I hear everything that you're saying and all the detractors are saying. And if we decide that we are going to be different and do different, and this community said, we need the council. They did it by 67%. We are trusting you, council members, to do what you say you're going to do. And then the council said to me, we are trusting you, Cecka, to do what you said you were going to do. And I tell you, I don't lay my head down at night unless I've done the right thing. I am open to talking to anyone as we move through this situation. But I will say to you, if it is the last thing I do, you are going to see a difference in the way this council is run. I can't speak to all the other bureaucracies. And I don't even think we're a bureaucracy. We're not even big enough to be a bureaucracy yet. It's 2 employees, me and Jacinta, and then our contract. But when you look at most CSCs, and I don't know if you did that, if you look at most CSCs, they keep a small staff and they try to leverage the funding that they get. And we are looking at them, particularly St. Lucie, Palm Beach, Hillsborough, Martin County, and St. Lucie and Martin are actually kind of similarly funded like us. Looking at the best of what they've done and seeing if that can be replicated, and most importantly, looking at the mistakes and seeing how we avoid the mistakes. My husband says all the time, the person with the most clues makes the best decision. And that is how we are going about this process.
Yeah, and it's a new, it's kind
It's
of
new,
here for
yeah.
Land County. You gotta start somewhere. And I think
You have to start somewhere, and you know what? I'm not saying I'm mistake prone. Lord knows. I had an executive director that told me when I was feeling really crazy, I had made this big mistake. He's like, Cecka, I make 10 mistakes before 7 o'clock in the morning, and that's every day. So we might make a mistake. Not saying we will, but we admit it, we course correct it, and then we move on. So I don't want the expectation to be, oh, we're going to get it perfect every time. We're going to get it perfect right out of the gate. We might not. And so that is why this is a public process. But we will admit it, and we will move into how we correct it, and then move into it.
I ask this all the time, but do you know what lean startup model is? It's okay.
Yes, I
Okay.
know a little bit, not a lot.
But I mean, I always talk about lean startup model, but you are doing the first stages of a lean startup model, and that's your customer discovery, your learning, and all that stuff. And then the neat thing about it is, then you take that information, and you take it first step and you do things, and then you iterate. Because you're calling them mistakes, but it's feedback. Iteration, like you do something, okay, is this working, is it not, but then you just building blocks.
And you talk it through, and you look at ways of doing it, and you literally, and that's why collaboration is important. You literally say, that's not gonna fly. Because if we do that, I already know what's gonna happen on the back end. The risk of that is not worth the reward. So it's an iterative process.
Yeah, and I think too, in our community, we have so many innovators. And our innovative spirit is really coming to life. And I love that, people really can be a part of the movie and really sense it and be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions or feedback from the audience? Yeah.
I have a question, and maybe this is about the structure and what you were talking about, and maybe we were talking about how to get collaborations going. But I'm thinking about boys and girls clubs and 21st century funding, Head Start. So those are all separate entities. So how are those brought together with the children's place?
So we looked at several other CSCs and how they did a collaborative model. And the best way that I can explain it is you might have, so we will have an outcome we want on the other side that we don't see any one program addressing. But we know that, and don't hold me to this out in virtual world, but we know that Boys and Girls Clubs have good outcomes here. 21st Century has good outcomes here. What was the other one you said?
Head Start.
Head Start. Head Start has good outcomes here. So we issue an RFP or an ITN for the outcomes that we want to move the needle. And we say, we want you to come to us with a collaboration, not one organization coming to us and saying, we're going to meet all these needs. Because the reality is that's not what you do. You do this. But if you collaborate with this one and this one, that is how you meet all the needs or the outcome that we want on the other side. And so, again, you inspect what you expect. So if the expectation is there will be a collaboration, that is what we're going to ask for. And have the ability that when you come to the table with this collaboration, if the evidence shows that you're saying that this group will do this, but we don't have any evidence that says that that group does that well, we will have the ability to say the group we know does it well is this group. So let's pull this group in to work this collaboration. And these are the outcomes that we expect because we know you do this well, you do this well, and you do this well. Instead of each of you coming saying you can do all of it, because the outcomes on the other side are not one facet. It's not an input and you get an outcome. It's several inputs to get the outcome.
Sounds like a lot of dissecting and Excel spreadsheets and all that good
And flow
stuff.
charts and evidence-based practice and all of that. I mean, it's a daunting task, and that I realize that.
Yeah.
And there will be lots of nights that we're staying up trying to figure it out and put all those pieces together. But I truly believe when we are able to do this, it is going to change the way this community thinks about service provision. And instead of 5 different girls mentoring groups, all of which they're good, all targeting the same group of kids or thereabout, we look at what each of them is doing well, have them collaborate, touch more kids, and have a better outcome. And it makes us think about how we formulate these groups. Then you bring the business community in, sponsorships, public campaigns, whatever it might be, to help that outcome. Now you've got everybody working together.
And we're trying to do that too. It's the same thing, and it's an important.
And you can see it on the other side, like, oh my gosh, this would be so awesome. We just got to get there. We just got to get there. So, I'm almost 55, so I figured I got 12 years.
Oh, okay.
What did Deion Cole say, 30 more summers or something, to try to but I believe we can do it. If I didn't believe we could do it, there's no way I would be here.
We can do it. Great things are going to happen. So, like, how do you want to reel this together?
We have 5 minutes left,
We have
so
5 minutes left. Okay. So I want you to make sure you're able to say everything you want to say, or if you have any questions you want to ask the audience, or anything like that.
Well, so you'll have my email. It's C Green, like the color, no E-on-N, at cscleon.org. My team and I would love the opportunity to get into your groups, your collaborations, your organizations, your businesses, and be able to talk about the CSC, get input from them. Most importantly, please, please, please do that community survey. That is important. Pass the link, email it out to all your friends, text it out to all your friends, and tell them it is vitally important that you do this. And then help be a part of the journey, follow the journey, give us your input, and know that we are doing our level best to make this the anti-bureaucracy that works.
Yay, well,
And we've got some great comments coming in from our live streaming viewers. Michelle Hood, she says, thank you ladies for bringing this important topic to us. I love the collaborative spirit of women. And then Doris Richards, she says, this is awesome. So proud of my family classmate. Well, thank you for participating with us and sharing your questions and comments with us. And so thank you so much for taking time out
Thank
of
you
your
for
day.
having me. I appreciate it.
It's
so
an honor to
much.
have you. And again, any way that we can be supportive
Yes,
and collaborate, that's totally what we want to do.
absolutely.
And again, for people in our Women Wednesdays community and, throughout the community, definitely, feel that your voice matters and you want to hear from
Yes,
people and
yes.
have them be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Well, great. All right, well, super. Look, I just want to thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much.
I appreciate
And
it.
I'd like to also mention, we're going to be right back here next week at Railroad Square Craft House. And in fact, Justine, can you want to say a quick little hello to people and welcome? Let's bring up Justine. Can you say Justine?
You should be more prepared. I always do this.
That's all right. Hold on, it's all right. You're fine.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming out today. I'm one of the owners of the Craft House here, and we love having Women's Wednesday here, and we hope to continue to grow this here at the Craft House. If you have any other events that you want to do, any other group meetings and whatnot, share nights, anything, just get in contact with me. We'd love to host you here. Large open space, so we have a lot of different opportunities and options for you guys.
Yeah, and we're gonna work together to keep improving how it all works. We developed a little lunch menu
Yes.
last night.
Yeah,
and you can tell a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Yeah, we'll test out a couple different things. Definitely give me your feedback on what you'd like to see on the limited menu for the Women's Wednesdays, and especially done for you guys. I brought back out the chicken salad sandwich, so I hope that was good. I saw some people order that today. And yeah, if there's anything else you guys need, just let me know.
And most of the time, Women Wednesdays will go from 12 to 1. We did it from 1 to 2 today for scheduling reasons, but we, hope to have you return. So next week, we're gonna have Gina Edwards. She does writing and speaking workshops, but she's gonna help talk to us about, utilizing our voice, being effective, and, the power of our own voice, whether in the written word or spoken word. And then I always want to thank Commissioner Curtis Richardson for showing up and supporting women. We're working on some projects together that I'm just super excited about. So his support of women is genuine, and really making Tallahassee a #1 city for women. So everybody have a great day. So, yeah. What's that?
Honorary sister.
Honorary sister girl. He is an honorary sister girl. So one of the things we do at the end of Women's Wednesdays, we love to take a group photo. So if you all could please just sort of come down, surround us here, come around to the back of us and let us take a group photo, we'd be most appreciative. So come on down, let's take a picture.
And we want to thank everybody for joining us live on our live stream, and you can always join us in person as well too. And thank you so much for watching. Share this with your friends and family. Have a wonderful day.
All right, everybody, come on down.